Alright, so I've been toying with the idea of this video for a very long time. I've decided to just come out and make the video. And the main reason I'm doing this is because I recently did a poll in my community where I asked people what their thoughts were about living in Canada. And the responses I got made me realize that many people don't actually know the truth, the actual truth of living in Canada. And I don't really blame them. I feel like there's a very elaborate marketing scheme by the government and all the immigration consultants and people making content about how Canada is the best place to ever live on earth, how it's the best thing after sliced bread. But the reality on ground says a completely different story. Statistics are showing that over 30% of new immigrants are leaving Canada every year. Like many people, thousands of people are leaving Canada every single year. So the situation is actually worse than the media tries to portray it. It's just a huge marketing scheme because you see most of these lists come out saying Canada is the best place to live in the world and all that. Most times it's just the passport they are talking about because Canada is not really as they've all painted it out to be. This is not me making a video just to bash Canada. Canada is good in some aspects. There are countless content out there showing you how good Canada is. But this is just to show you the other side of things that people don't like to talk about and help you make an informed decision. Most people assume that everybody coming to Canada is coming out here because they're coming from a struggling country where they don't have anything and they're all suffering and dying. But that's not the truth. Most of us had very comfortable lives where we're coming from. Me, for example, where I'm coming from, I had a very, very comfortable lifestyle. I had my own place, I had my own car, all full paid in cash. And so coming here is a totally different system, which many people are not aware of. So before you guys start selling your house and selling your car, selling everything that you have to move to Canada, these are some things that you need to know. The first thing we're going to talk about is taxes. The tax system here is insane. The tax rates in Canada, and I'm talking about the entire Canada, is really, really high. If you're making a lot of money, you're giving all the money back to the government, or at least the major part of the government. I even heard someone make a comment, right, on a thread that when you get a job offer in Canada, the name on the job offer might be your name, but it's the Canadian government that is on the employment letter, and you're just a third party to that agreement. And when I heard it, that thing busted my head because I'm like, if you do your calculations, you're going to see that the bulk of the money that you make is going back to the government in form of taxes, which is really, really crazy. And it's like the more you make, the more money you pay in taxes. The more you make, the more money you pay in taxes. So you can't really escape the tax system out here. It is designed to keep you within a certain level and make sure that you don't get wealthy. That's just what you need to know about taxes. Taxes here are extremely, extremely high, and they're not going down anytime soon. The second thing is the healthcare. Now, the healthcare system is touted as being free, but if you're smart enough, you know by now that when anything is said to be free, there is a hidden cost, right? You might not be paying for it directly with money from your account, but you're paying for it in some way. And in this case, you're paying for it through the taxes. Now, apart from the fact that you're paying for the healthcare through your taxes, that it started as free doesn't mean that it is easily accessible. If you go to the hospital, there are extremely long wait times. I'm talking like 8 hours to over 24 hours in order to access healthcare. Unless you're having a life-threatening situation, going to the hospital, you're just going to waste a lot of time there. And if you decide to go for the private hospitals, you're going to literally be paying through your nose. You're going to be paying insane amounts of money just to access healthcare. And this is not even helping the medical professionals, because when medical professionals come into the country, they are not treated like medical professionals. I mean, you would think that the human body is the same everywhere in the world. But when you come here as a medical professional, you are made to start going through all these different training and courses, and you have to go to school again, technically, to practice what you already were practicing before and getting paid for, which doesn't make any sense to me. And it's the reason why many medical people are either leaving Canada or they're choosing to go into another different career entirely. That's just to show you how crazy the healthcare system out here is. The third thing I'm going to blame here is the false lifestyle that is being portrayed. Like I said at the beginning, there's a huge marketing scheme by the government to encourage people to feel like Canada is the ultimate land of opportunity. And the fact that they are creating new immigration pathways every single day is not helping matters at all. Countless number of people are streaming into Canada every single year because of the new immigration systems. And then the people also making content are just making different content encouraging people to come here. And that leads to this problem of false lifestyle, because these people, what they do is they paint this lifestyle that Canada is the perfect place. You see all these content creators, they only show like the good side of their houses. They're only talking about the benefits and all the good things about living in Canada. And when they travel back home, right, they're trying to put up a front to make everything seem like it's all roses out here, when the truth is it's not actually that way, right? Many people are just literally living from hand to mouth. They get paid a salary and they give that money back to the government and pay it back on rent, and they don't have anything. The little that they are able to save at the end of the day, they either send it back home or use it on a vacation or something, and then they are back to square zero. It's just a very, very weird scam, a very, very weird sham that is going on right now. These people that are promoting the forced lifestyle are not helping issues at all, because this place is not as glamorous as anybody out there is trying to make it seem. There are a lot of things that are not going well, which are definitely not being highlighted. And the next thing is the credit system. So if you're coming from Africa, for example, you're not really used to the credit system. Like I said at the beginning, where I'm coming from, I'm used to paying everything in cash. If you want a house, you pay in cash. You want a car, you pay in cash, and then you get it. You actually own what you pay for. But here's a lot different. You don't own what you pay for. So when people say that they own a house, most times it's mortgage, right? And the mortgage is a monthly payment that you're making. It's essentially a loan that you're making to own a house. And what's crazy about this is that everything is tied to the credit system. So if you lose your job, for example, you have to go through a process that says that you are still qualified to get that mortgage, which is just insane. So you can say you have a house on paper, and technically you might have a house, but you don't really own the house because it's not yours. It can literally leave if you don't keep up with your mortgage payments. That is not ownership to me, right? This applies to you owning a car. Many people that you see driving very expensive cars, very high flashy looking cars, they don't own those cars, right? They are paying crazy amounts of loan on those cars. So if anything just goes wrong, they're going to lose that car, they're going to lose that house, which doesn't make sense at all. Many people are not used to the credit system, and the banks too are not helping here. They're getting newcomers who don't know anything about credit into the system, and then once you get in, you start living life on credits until one day you just realize that, oh, this is not actually the type of life that I want to be living. Like, I don't actually own these things that I'm spending money on. It's all borrowed money that has to be paid back, or you're going to be tied in shackles. So that's something that you need to know, and it's something that is the type of life that many people don't want to be living at all. People just want to stay away from credit or owing any type of money. Now let's talk about education and the Canadian experience. So here's the thing about coming to Canada. If you're coming to Canada as an international immigrant, right, or as an international student, so you're going to go through a different experience from people who are coming in as PR. The first thing is the education cost. The cost of education here compared to domestic students is 5 multiples, right? You're paying ×5 of what the domestic people are paying, which doesn't make sense to begin with, right? You're getting the same education, the same classes, the same tutors, the same everything, but you're just paying more because you're coming from a different place. And not only that, after all this education that you're getting, there is still absolutely no guarantee that you're going to get work, and that's because of this artificial BS called Canadian experience. No matter the amount of years of experience that you've had before coming to Canada, for some weird reason, when you come into Canada, all those things don't matter. You have to start from scratch because you don't have Canadian experience. You're expected to start working from the ground up, either as an intern at one factory or somewhere, or just some menial job, before you can start rising up through the ranks to get to like the level where you were before, which doesn't also make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense at all. There's no justification for it. Why this is terrible is because the government keeps on encouraging people to come in through these different schemes. Now, take for example, you're someone, even let's say you're even in tech, right? You're coming in with the expectation that, oh, you're coming in and you're going to get a 100K salary. Now, what happens is you have your qualifications, and then there's 1,000 other people that are coming into Canada with the exact same qualifications as you. A company is looking to hire, and you are saying you want to get paid 100K, but there's 1,000 other people out there that are willing to do the exact same work, even way better than you, for 70K. What do you think the company is going to do? They're going to ignore you, right? They're going to hire those people, and they're going to start paying those people that 70K. And not only are those people now earning that 70K, they're still getting taxed on the 70K. They're still paying back money to the government on that 70K salary which they are now making. There's jobs in like the factories and the customer care jobs, but even getting those type of jobs nowadays is actually getting hard just because of the volume of people that are coming into the country. The number of homeless people in Canada is increasing also by the day. There are many homeless people that are not just able to keep up with the cost of living out here, and that's why they don't have a home. Because even those that have a home right now, they're literally 1 or 2 paychecks away from being on the streets. And that is because the cost of living itself is extremely high. It would make sense if it was just the taxes that were high, but it's not just the taxes. It's everything is expensive. Everything is expensive out here. Food is super expensive here. If you are paying for your car insurance is super expensive. If you are paying for phone bills, in fact, you can Google this one. The phone bills in Canada are one of the highest in the entire world. That is insane. And this is not a debt that you can run away from. It's not something that you can choose not to pay for it. It's like, if you don't pay your phone bill, you can't do anything on your phone. That's how bad it is when it comes to the phone bill. So the cost of living is insane. I don't think there's anybody that is saving up to half of their salary if they're just making money from a salary job. Nobody out here is saving up to half of their salary, because as you're making the money, before government takes their own taxes, you are paying close to half, if not more than half, of your paycheck in a month to rent. And then the little that you have saved, you are then going to use it on groceries and utilities and all these other expenses that you have to pay. And now let's talk about the weather. So if everything that I've said so far is not bad enough, you now have to deal with the extremely harsh bipolar weather that Canada has to offer you. It's not just cold when it's cold, and it's not just hot when it's hot. It's extremely cold when it's cold, and it's extremely hot when it's hot. And sometimes the weather doesn't even know what it's doing it. Sometimes the weather is sunny, like in the summertime it's sunny, and then the next minute it's super cold and it's raining. And then when it's cold, it just gets extremely cold. When it's hot, it gets extremely hot. So the weather condition is what many people cannot really deal with. The winters are super long and depressing. 3.5 months that make up summer, you see everybody's stories and status looking all lively. But then the rest 9 months of the year that is winter, everybody's just gloomy and indoors and just all sad and going about with their gloomy faces, right? That's what many people are not used to. Like, I've never had to live in a country like that before. Where I'm coming from is always sunshine and the weather is really good all year round. But here, you have to just make do with the bipolar weather if every other thing that I've mentioned so far in this video is not bad enough. And then last but not the least is the passive racism that exists. Now, I've seen several people say that Canada is one of the nicest places to live. But if you've lived for a while in this country and you look like me, you would know that what they call niceness is not really niceness, right? They're just being polite for the sake of not wanting to anger people. But there is still a lot of passive racism out here, and it's racism from every different type of race that you can think of. There's racism from the Indians towards the blacks. There's racism from the whites towards the blacks. There's racism from the whites to the Indians. There's racism, just entire racism, right? The racism still exists. And despite all the efforts by the companies, all these big companies to make it acceptable for everybody, there is still a lot of racism that is going on in the country, which, like, if you start to notice it, you cannot just peel your eyes away from it. Canada is the first country that I came to where I actually realized that, oh, I actually do have a different color of skin. Like, people make you feel like your skin actually has a different color, which some people are just not comfortable living with. I mean, nobody should be comfortable living with that at all, but that's just the situation of things out here if you are living in Canada. These are many of the truths these are things that are currently happening right now. Things that some people are even going to argue that I didn't even make it sound as bad as it is right now in this video, but these are the things that are actually happening right now that are making many people want to leave Canada, that are making them go back to wherever they came from, because they would rather endure life somewhere else than have to go through everything that I've mentioned in this video. For some others who still want to make the decision, at least now you have a clear idea of some of the unglamorous things that are not being shared on social media. So I know many people who are coming in are just doing it to get a passport and then leave. I think it's a question that you need to ask yourself, if this is a justifiable pathway that you want to follow, if these are things that you're willing to endure for the sake of getting a passport. Only you can make that decision for yourself, but it's best when you have the entire truth so that you can make an informed decision and know if this is what you want to do long term. Now, I'm just going to finish off this video by saying one thing. I know there's some people in the audience that are going to be asking, okay, with all this thing that you've mentioned, why exactly are you still in Canada? Like, why are you discouraging people from coming? I'm going to say again, I'm not discouraging anybody from coming here. I'm just giving you all the points that you need to make an informed decision. Please do not feel like I am preventing you from coming. Like, I can't actually even prevent you. I'm not an immigration officer. So I don't have the power to even prevent you from trying to come. I'm just letting you know what to expect, the parts that people don't really talk about when they are talking about coming to Canada. And for those who might be asking me, oh, if it's bad like this, then why haven't you left? The reason why I haven't left is the same reason why you haven't left where you are. Is because we are in this system already. And unless you find a way of getting yourself out, and I don't just mean like getting the flight ticket out, I mean getting a good way of making money, making a lot of money that wherever you live in the world doesn't really matter to you. You are still in this system and you need to navigate your way around it. Hope this video helps somebody make an informed decision. And in my next few videos, I'm going to also be talking about some other things I've noticed and what I think is the solution to this problem and how you can actually live better, whether you decide to come to Canada or not, whether you decide to move to Canada or whether you decide to stay in your home country, ways that you can use to live a pretty comfortable life where you don't have to worry about making money. Share this video with someone out there who is thinking of coming to Canada and doesn't know the whole truth. Let this video give them a different perspective, a better perspective, a realistic perspective before they make that life-changing decision.